Good evening, everyone, and welcome to today Flagler County Planning and Development Board meeting tonight. Today is May the 9th, 2023. It is 6 o'clock. And Gina, can we start with a roll call, please?
Michael Boyd.
Here.
Timothy Connor advised us he would be absent. Jack Corbett.
Here.
Heather Haywood.
Here.
Mark Langello.
Present.
Anthony Lombardo.
Here.
And Fernando Melendez.
Here.
All right, we have a
Thank you.
quorum.
Thank you, Gina. Can we all stand up, please, and join us for the pledge? I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So the third item on our agenda is the approval of April 11th, 2023 regular meeting minutes.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those not in favor? Okay. Motion passes. As you know, we conduct a quasi-judicial process. The audience should refrain from clapping, booing, or shouts of approval or disagreement to avoid potential legal ramifications and possible overturning of a decision by the courts. A public hearing must be fair in three respects: form, substance, and appearance. Time limits will be observed. Staff will have 10 minutes presentation. Applicants, 15 minutes presentations, unless extended by a consensus of the board. Public comments, 3 minutes per speaker, 5 minutes if speaking on behalf of a group. Applicant's rebuttal and closing staff comments, 10 minutes each. So our next item is item 4, which is a quasi-judicial requiring disclosure of ex parte communication. Has anybody asked to report any? Okay, so we have application 3333, which is a variance, side yard setback variance in the R1 Rural Residential District. Adams.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We've got on the display the aerial view of the subject property, and this is lot 149 in Armand Beach East subdivision. You can see it there at the end of the cul-de-sac. And the existing home that was picked up with the aerial, and then the addition then is, let's see if I can show it with my cursor, showed up here in this back portion along the south lot line. So that addition was properly permitted, was constructed here. The aerial hasn't caught up with that yet. And this gives you an orientation of the property. Then the surrounding lots that are here, you probably saw in the staff report that I talked about the number of lots that abut this property, the size of those. You can get some idea of the relative size, that this one being right around that half-acre size, the others right around 10,000 square feet for each of those, all uniform. These at the cul-de-sac, not so uniform as compared to its neighbors. Future land use map shows this area as rural residential. The zoning is that R1 rural residential zoning that's in place. Typically, you were looking for an acre minimum with both the land use and the zoning, but because of the date of Armand Beach East subdivision being platted, the lots within Armand Beach East are all lots of record. And so the lot of record setbacks then apply, and that gives us the reduced setback for the side setback for any construction related to the single-family dwelling. Flood zone here, you can see where the home, the subject home on this lot, is outside of the special flood hazard area. The green area here being the special flood hazard area, zone AE. That X shaded area being that area that's outside of the special flood hazard itself. Still an area where we'd recommend, if somebody was asking us, you'd purchase flood insurance, but it's not mandatory purchase if you're outside of the special flood hazard, if you're outside of the green area. Particular for this lot, this home is outside of that special flood hazard area itself. And then the soils map that we see. And this, of course, will lead then into the wetlands map, but Pomelo fine sand being for this subject lot, and then its neighboring lots, and then just what we would expect with Pomelo fine sand, no wetland areas to note on the wetland inventory. So this is that summary slide that is based in large part on what we put into the technical staff report. I've already covered quite a bit of this, but this was that 7.5-foot side setback being the minimum side setback that would apply for a lot of record to the single-family dwelling or any attached structures to that single-family dwelling. So that's why the 7.5-foot side setback is applicable here. The thing to note with this is that along all side and rear lot lines in the Ormond Beach East subdivision, there's a 7.5-foot wide blanket easement that's for utility and drainage purposes along those lot lines. And so what that creates here is a unique situation where your eave cannot extend into that utility easement, that drainage and utility easement. And so that your setback then in practice ends up being whatever the width of your eave would end up being. So while we say 7.5, and we would look for 7.5 on a drawing submitted to us that would show your foundation, if you have an eave, and most structures would, foot, 1.5 feet, 2 feet, whatever that ends up being, you would need to be at least that distance set back from the minimum 7.5-foot setback, the 7.5-foot drainage and utility easement, in order to make sure that no portion of your home extends into the drainage and utility easement. We don't allow any encroachments into a utility easement. We do allow eaves to extend into a setback. So a distinction there, maybe without a difference. It's important here in Ormond Beach East and a few others, but this is a particular one where we have it come up most often, where you need to make sure that you're accounting for that eave. This particular project did account for that eave, that we had the original site plan that was submitted to zoning, submitted as part of the permit application, approved by zoning on February 15th, 2021, approved by development engineering on February 16th, 2021, showed 9.58 foot left or south side setback for that addition. And so we had the minimum 7.5, and then we had the extra then that would accommodate the eave. Well, then when the as-built survey showed up for us, it showed the attached addition actually built at 7.19 feet. And if you can imagine, that as-built is actually showing us the foundation, is not showing us the eave. So we're that much further of an encroachment into the actual platted easement. This is an after-the-fact variance. Important thing to note here is the final contractor is not the original contractor with the job. And so that don't kill the messenger with this. They're here to finish the job that was left unfinished. And you saw the pictures in your packet, and I'll show them here also. So this was that sketch that we had that's part of your packet. This is the approved site plan sketch, and I'll zoom in. So the first thing I did was I turned it, so you get the orientation correct. South at the bottom, north at the top. And then this is that zoom in area, and you can see here the 9.58 showing at its closest point. The dash line here that's shown is a 7.5-foot wide drainage easement that was shown on the site plan that we approved as part of the permit. This is your as-built. This is part of your packet. I had this in 11 by 17 format in your paper packet. And so then turning it for orientation purposes and then zooming in, our closest point with this, we have the what ends up being the southeast portion of the attached accessory building at 7.23 feet. The closest point then at the southwest, that southwest corner at 7.19 feet, which then gives us that 0.31 foot variance request that we're looking for here with this to meet the 7.5 foot minimum side setback. Question you're probably wondering, okay, so what do we do about the eaves? This is actually a two-part application. Didn't want to complicate it too much. I think I did put it in the technical staff report that there is another step still here that will need to be done. It's going to be a partial plat vacation that's going to be very specific to that part of the eave then and the structure that extend into the 7.5 foot utility and drainage easement. That will be heard by the Board of County Commissioners at a later meeting when we can get that before them. And certainly your action on the variance is in some ways very much dependent upon that then progressing to that next step with the Board of County Commissioners. But that 7.19 feet being our closest point then of the foundation of the home, your variance, the variance request is needed, your approval of the variance is needed to allow the setback then to be reduced for that effectively for that 0.31 foot encroachment. And here's the photos that were part of your packet, February 2022. This should be the contractor, the representative there with the contractor can correct me on this. I think this is what they walked into. This is the roof decking. This is where the extent of the construction when they came into the job. And so you had this there. This on the left-hand side shows the home, and then this is that attached breezeway, and then the guest house hobby room that was added, and just a detail on the framing inside, so that you know, it was completed to that step. Few of y'all know how far that is, and certainly at that point, likely no return with that. And then with presentation that I've provided, the staff report, we've got 3 options available for the board. The first one being that approval, application 3333 for a 0.31 foot left or south side yard setback variance from the minimum 7.5 foot side yard setback for a guest hobby addition at 4 Rosemary Place. You could alternatively deny the application, finding the variance criteria have not been met, and denying that request for the 0.31 foot left or south side yard setback variance at 4 Rosemary Place. Or you could continue this proceeding to a time and date certain. We'll come back and provide additional information to you should you need that for your decision tonight. I do have both the owners and the representatives from the contractor that finished the job present for any questions or comments. With that, I'll close, awaiting any questions or comments from the board. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Adam. So would the applicants like to come up and, or would the applicants like to come up? State your name, please, for the record.
My name's Robbie Connor, superintendent for Lonnie Construction. We inherited this job with good faith to finish it. We had no clue of any of these. We had no clue of any of these stipulations when we took over the job. We assumed that the inspections would have caught anything prior to what we hadn't done. I want to say that these are the greatest people that I've ever met, and they truly deserve to get finished. I think we've done them a really good job. They've been happy so far. So just in case you all don't know a whole lot about tents, 0.31 is 3 3/4 of an inch. Just if y'all don't know. So all of this is happening over 3 3/4 of an inch. We apologize for any inconvenience. We were just finishing the job for the guys, and would appreciate being able to finish it for them. There's no utilities. Letters have been sent to all of them. There's no utilities in the easement. Actually, both sides of the property has utility easements. And it states several times about the odd shape of the lot that things like that's going to happen with it being in the utilities. But we would really love to just finish it for them.
All right, thank you. Do you have anybody else? Would you like to comment, sir? State your name, please.
Hi, my name is Bill Lonnie. I'm the owner of the company and the contractor. Typically, when we go in for an inspection and we pour a concrete slab, typically there's something called a spot survey to make sure that the form boards and before the concrete is placed, that it falls within its survey, falls within its setbacks. That's typically part of the process of the approval in most of the counties we work in. Since this had been framed, the concrete had been placed and had been framed up, we made the assumption that it was obviously okay to go, because typically you can't get a further inspection until that, if there was an infraction, would have been corrected on the form boards. So we made the assumption actually that everything was good to go, probably because there should have been a spot survey done on that slab before the concrete was even placed. So we kind of inherited this, but these folks have been through it. The first contractor took them to that point and then just took their money and ran. And that's just totally irresponsible. But we were glad to help them out and finish the project. Then we did a final survey and discovered this infraction. So we're here to solve the problem and see what we can do to work it out.
All right, thank you. Anybody on the board have any questions? Go ahead, Mr. Langelo.
So Adam, my first question as a contractor, kind of what he was going along with, what happened to the foundation survey on this?
You think we looked for it and couldn't find it, and then the other thought that I had was, a good chance, can't really explain it now, but I'm thinking that what may have happened is the contractor prior to them had just went on and just kept going.
So there was they would have had to have inspections for the framing. They didn't do any kind of framing inspection?
At least
Or
prior,
did they?
at least prior to the lintel, because remember, our explanation is absent a foundation survey, that we'll let you proceed to lintel at your own risk, and then you're going to come in and get the inspection. And then I'm best I can guess is that transition from old contractor to new contractor, they picked it up, and we just were like, congratulations, keep going.
Do we know if the surveyor first of all, is Stevenson the original surveyor from the whole job? He was.
Yes, yeah.
Okay. I mean, you guys can, if you want to answer, come up to the microphone. That'd be great, because you might have some of this. No, we need it on the record, so. Did Stevenson, were they hired to do an initial stakeout, tack and hub on this?
Won't know that.
Do you guys know?
Sir, can you step up
Yeah,
to
we
the
gotta
mic,
get
please?
you
So-
got to get you in front of the microphone, on the
Gotta
microphone
get
if
it
you
for the
can.
record.
Sorry.
So as you guys know, typically, you would have a surveyor do a tack and hub or some sort of a layout.
Yes.
Whatever format you guys hire, but they would do that. And the original surveyor, like Stevenson, would have been the one to do it. Do you know if that was done?
Yes, so prior to getting the final survey, I searched and searched. I had only one plot of the survey, and I dug and dug, and I finally found out that it was Wilcox, and they did do the original survey, and so they came back to do the final.
But did they do the tack and hub, or did they do a layout of this addition? Were they hired by the original contractor? So
I've never asked that
you
question.
didn't ask them that
I
question?
I did not.
All right, because that was kind of, leading where this is all happening. Somewhere this went awry.
Sure.
And,
Actually, I know that they didn't do it because I have their survey of 985. But I had that survey, or 958. We had that survey, and that's all we had until we got the final. So if they would have came and done an initiative survey, then we would have had a different
right,
number.
okay. All right, those are my questions for now. Thank you, guys.
Does anybody have any other questions for the applicant or the contractor?
I just want to clarify, so the original contractor poured the slab.
Yes, sir.
Did they do framing work, or you guys did the framing work?
They did the framing work
So they-
also, all the way up to the roof deck.
All the way up to the roof deck?
Yes.
And the encroachment is the eave or the slab?
The encroachment is both the eave and the slab, and so what we're doing here, remembering that our setbacks are measured to the foundation, if the variance request is granted, the variance would be granted for the extent of the slab of the building itself. Let me fix that, because the eaves part of the building, the foundation and the exterior wall, that part of that's what requires a 0.31 foot setback variance. The encroachment of the eave and basically the same part of the building will have to, into the utility and drainage easement, will need to be handled separately by the Board of County Commissioners as a partial plat vacation.
I gotcha. Okay, so it's the slab is okay,
Yes, sir.
okay. That's it.
All right, thank you. Any other additional questions? Do you have any questions?
Just the spot survey that you had mentioned, Mark, I got to ask you, since you're a contractor, is that standard on pretty much everything that's being
You know,
built?
there's not a rule that says you have to have a surveyor do it, but this is exactly why you would hire a surveyor to, especially on tight lots, to come out and do a tack and hub. So what happens is, and the only guy they would have hired would have been Stevenson. That's the only guy they would have hired. So typically, they would have hired Stevenson, who did the original survey, to come out and put points on the ground where the corners of the building would be. And then they would put form boards up, or, well, they put some batter boards and form boards up, and then that building would be where the surveyor told them. This is so far off. My assumption is if they didn't do it, these guys came out there themselves, you know, I think the lot is here, and I think that's there, and did it, and, you know, not trying to do it wrong, but just trying to be cheap, and that's what probably happened here, you know, because that's very far off. I mean, it's far off because the plan showed 9.58, which would have accommodated the eave and the foundation for sure. So they were, you know, over 2 feet off, you know, 2 foot 4 inches basically off is what they were off.
Thank you.
Any additional questions for the applicants or the contractors? Okay, so at this point, we'll bring it out to the public for public comment. If there's anybody who wishes to come up and comment on this. All right, so seeing none, I'll bring it
Mr.
back.
Chairman, Adam, there was the reason why you said in the packet, it was a neighbor that had an issue, right? Is the neighbor present today?
I don't know, yeah.
Okay.
And I did include for the record, you had the copy of the correspondence we received from the neighbor also.
All right, so seeing none, so we'll bring it back to the board for any additional comments, any additional discussion?
I don't think, I mean, there's no real, I mean, in regard, I just want to comment, I guess, we're in an after-the-fact situation here with a different contractor, and we're a third of a foot away, and we have this couple here that have been through a lot probably, and the contractor just wants to make it right for them. So, I mean, I think doing, it's not far. I mean, the original contractor was far off. I mean, but we're still only a third of a foot or so away from the variance. It would be really heart-wrenching to hold them up any longer for that, and something that wasn't anyone's fault here that's applying for this application. So that's just my comment on that.
Thank you. Do we have additional comments?
Yeah, I would agree with him, and I'd make a motion to approve the application.
I'll second.
All right, so we have a motion and a second. At this time, we'll go to the vote.
Mr. Chairman?
Sir?
Could I just add for your motion that this lot is unusual shape and they would meet the criteria that we have in our, would you agree with that, Mike?
Yes.
Okay.
That's noted, thank you. So this time, we'll take it to the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed signify by saying nay. The ayes take it. Motion is approved for application 3333. We'll bring it back to staff comments or board comments. Anybody have any additional comments? All right, so we'll move to adjourn. So I'll entertain a motion.
Board comments?
Board comments? Do we have any board comments?
Yeah, I have,
Oh, again, yes, I'm sorry. Anyone wishes to come up for public comment? All right, seeing none, we'll bring it back to the board. And now we could go.
Make a motion for
Make-
adjournment.
Second.
Okay, all right, so all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. And the ayes have it. Have a good night.
thank you.
Thank you all very much for your time.